I went over to Scotland for a vacation, 35th wedding anniversary with the wife, Mrs. McGolf. And of course, no golf club guy is ever gonna not stop at St. Andrews, which I did. Going around the corner of where we were staying at the Russicks, from the 18th hole, everything is very, very close. I ran into the St. Andrews Golf Company. St. Andrews Golf Company claims the oldest golf club manufacturer basically on the planet. And what they have is they're still making golf clubs from the George Nicoll and the Tom Stewart period. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, George Nicoll, Tom Stewart were, well, particularly Tom Stewart, renowned club maker, okay? And that was the guy that designed and built the golf clubs that Bobby Jones used in order to win his Grand Slam. So, of course, I'm going to walk right in there and see. Well, what I found was a storefront. And the storefront was pretty cool. It had a lot of what I consider memorabilia. But what it turns out to be is that they were playable golf clubs. So while you can go there, they say, well, you can go get a tour. So they hand you one of these things. All right. And you go, and it turns out they have another place where they do the actual manufacturing about 6 miles away. So we hop on a bus and over we go, and we meet the actual owner of the St. Andrews Golf Club. And he takes us on a tour, and he graciously said, yes, let's do a video, and it's to show you guys the old school method of building a golf club. Now, it's very brief, but there's some really good stuff in the video, okay? Talking about how things are made, and how they're still playable. So you're going to see, if you look around on the internet right now, Hickory Golf, which is Hickory golf shafts, and dated type clubs are actually having a following. They actually have a national tournament. They actually have a world tournament. And I believe this fellow, this Hamish Steedman, is the director of it. Over here in the United States, I believe it's Mike Just, who's in Louisville, Kentucky, who's not too far from here. So let's clarify this a little bit more. Hickory Golf, right? There are probably only 3 people in the whole world right now that are even paying attention to Hickory Golf. 1 is the St. Andrews Golf Company. 2 is Louisville Golf. 3 is Tad Moore. All right, and of those 3, the St. Andrews, as far as I know, is the only people that are actually building the irons the way that they were built back in the day. All right, that means taking a blank, pounding it out, grinding it up, and then finishing it up. Where others have created molds, got replicas, and having them made, and then they're assembling after that. So it's all about what it is you want to have as far as the reality of it. Now, go ahead and take a look at the video, and at the end, I'm going to show you what I ended up with when we were done. Welcome back, not to the McGolf Shop. Again, if you have seen any of the last videos, I am in Scotland, and we've made a pilgrimage to St. Andrews, and we found the oldest golf club making shop on the planet, the St. Andrews Golf Company. And with me is the operations director, and is Hamish Steedman. And he's been in with he's owned this facility for...
Well, it dates back to 1881. We can trace the roots back to then, but I've been involved in the business for 20 years now.
For 20 years. Now, when you think of older clubs, everybody thinks, well, the hickory shafts. And what St. Andrews Golf Company has been doing that is unique basically here is that they are hand building, not recreating, but hand building hickory shafted golf clubs that are incredibly playable. All right, now I can show you all the modern stuff that's going on, and because they also have skipped into the 21st century with PXG and ping and a like that. What we're really here for is the wooden clubs and the hand craftsmanship it takes to make these things playable and as gorgeous as they possibly are.
If I could just add, Jim, We are the oldest golf club manufacturer in the world. Apart from St Andrews Golf Company, we own George Nicoll and Tom Stewart. That was Bobby Jones' favourite clubmaker at the time. And all we're doing here in the factory is continuing those manufacturing processes. So we're not copying anything, we're not reproducing anything, we're just continuing traditional manufacturing processes, and you'll get to see that.
Right. So what you're going to be seeing is, it's not going to be, this is not mass produced, all right? These are handmade by basically artisans, right, that know what they're doing about golf. So we're going to take you along, so stick with us and we're going to show you how they're made.
Sounds good. So if I can just say here, Jim, what we have with the iron heads, we start as a basic raw state, it's known as a black cast. We'll drill out the hosel, we grind them down to get the rough edges off them, we put them in the anvil and hand stamp the various markings in them. That's the left-hander there. This one you can see.
You know I'm in for the lefty stuff.
Yeah, especially for you. And that should be before and after. That's it. If we take a close-up on that, you can see.
Yep.
That's the head there, ready to have the shaft put in it.
So if you really want to talk about what this, it starts out in a what they call the black
casting.
A black casting. So
yeah.
it's solid, right? It starts out just like this. Then the fellas here will drill it out, and then they start grinding on it. And when they start grinding on it, they start putting it, stamping all of the particulars. And if you look, right there is back in the day, back in the day they had what was called cleek marks, and that was the sign of the maker of the golf club. And for Mr. Stewart, it was the hand, or Nichols, I'm sorry,
Yep.
Mr. Nichols, it was the hand. For Tom Stewart, it was a pipe. And then they take it and then they hand polish this. This is not chrome, all right? They hand polish it, and you get to see what it looks like. This thing is absolutely gorgeous, all right? And then this is what gets put into, and these are all handmade. You start out raw, then you get to the shape, and then you get to the polish. So each one of these things are made playable, right? Each one of these things are made to a specific weight, a specific whatever it is that they want. This happens here, and they hand it, and it's every bit by hand. All right, that's what makes these things so universally cool. And that's what we like about this. And I'm telling you, you're never going to see this anywhere but maybe one or two places on the whole entire planet, just because of the time that's involved with these.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how long have your people been working here in order to be able to do that?
Well, we just lost two earlier this year. Two senior club makers retired. They've been here since they were 14, 16. Been all their lives.
Wow.
Retired at 65 this year.
So the guys that just lost have been here well over 50 years doing this.
Yeah. So there's two about 60, and we've got brought on board two apprentices that are working out fantastically. So we've got the future of club making at our hands as well. And we're all passionate about what we're trying to do. We're passionate about retaining these skills here in Scotland, and it's great to see the new guys coming through.
That is particularly cool. Now there's, I want to show, he showed me one earlier. I want to show you this one, the RTJ, Robert, let me get one. So for those of you that, that'll be seeing it on my side of the pond, you'll enjoy this.
This is a copy of the irons that Bobby Jones used to win his Grand Slam in 1930. And because we own Tom Stewart, we own George Nicoll, Bobby Jones in his original set had 5 of the clubs that we made. So the family commissioned us to reproduce the limited edition set of Bobby Jones Grand Slam clubs. So that one there is one of the irons which is found there.
Now from a techno point of view, if you see how big this hosel is, right? Look how big around that is. Now this has got to receive a hickory shaft, right? This is not your 335s or your 350s or any of that nonsense. This is a wooden shaft that goes in here, and hence this has got to be so big. Now, if you go to the Golf Hall of Fames or any of this era, you'll see that these wear patterns will sit in here, because this thing is sucking the what would they call the sweet spot of the club, closer towards the hosel. So you'll see there, so it wouldn't be into the middle. So for one reason or another, if you guys decide that you want to get into this, and you try and hit in the middle and it just doesn't feel good, try a little bit closer to the inside of the hosel. All right, so let's go see what else. Let's go see the other stuff.
Club, shall we?
Yeah. So now we're into the wooden part of this, and we're going to show you just a step-by-step process.
So the wooden heads, literally starting with planks of wood, cutting in a bandsaw to get a basic block. And the block goes into a copy lathe. There's a master that follows it round, and this is a long nose club from about the 1880 period. You can see that's your basic shape that comes out of the copy lathe. From there, my club makers will start working on it by hand to bring it up to a playable golf club.
So you've got it. We're sitting right here because behind us is the copy lathe. Right, sitting into the middle is where you would find that what they have is the master mold, and then what they'll do is they'll put blocks of wood together, and they'll spin around like a lathe to this kind of a shape.
So that would have been the master used for this one here. So it's a lump of metal, and that rotates round as the shaves off the block of wood to get the copy shape that we're looking at.
All right. Now from here, when you get from here, they're going to cut off that part, and then what we're going to do is take it and get a nice decent shape, and then we got to go to the assembly part. This one, when they make this guy, is outstanding in how they do this, because this is where the real craftsmanship comes into. Let's go to the next step. All right, so now in the next part of it, we're putting the head on the shaft, and we're going to be showing that.
So what we have here, the head's been glued to the shaft. So spliced there. We have cut out the face to put a face insert in. That's traditionally a leather, basically a bit of boot leather that's going into that. We've got the leading edge was a piece of ram's horn, traditionally a piece of horn to protect it as it hit the ground. And then laterally they put a brass plate on. As you can see around the back, we've drilled out the back and pour molten lead into that. We've got the lead furnace just in the back there. I'll get back and show you that if you want.
We'll get back in here. Oh.
So that lead will get poured into the back of the head there. Every head is weighed to get the weight, and you can see that there.
So what he's showing you is the club or the shaft gets a splice like this. All right, and then that piece that we showed you earlier gets a cut in it, and those two marry up so they go like that, and they end up with what he just showed you. And then the real magic happens.
And the next stage is having it finished. You can see here, we now have the leather face insert. We have the horn and the leading edge. We put the brass plate on it, and we have the lead around the back of it. The shaft, we've got the splice going through there. So that head's ready to be stained now, and then the whipping goes on it, and the grip will go on as the last stage.
Oh. Now, what I will tell you is that when he told me that leather was going on here, I got to thinking, well, leather like in a leather shoe. But when you see this on here, you know, although it is soft, it has a firmness to it that is, it's a pretty incredible when you put it on all of this. So when it marries together, you have a little bit of extra weight on the bottom from the plate. Then you have the horn for protection, and then you have this as more protection as well.
Yeah.
And I would think that it provides a level of feel. And then you have the weight in order to give this club that heft that everybody's looking for when they put it on here. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And if you get really close, you see how well, if I do like this, it almost looks like it's one piece, but if you get really, really close, it's right there. And then that's when we go and we put the whipping on it.
I can tell you, Jim, with the modern golf ball, you can hit a modern golf ball about 260 yards with that.
Nice. I want to hit a golf ball 260 yards with that, I guarantee it. All right, so we're going to go see what they look like when they're from this point to where they start getting decorative. All right, now we're back into the last stage where we're going to put all the finishing touches on this, which is the whipping, the grips, the stain, the sealer, all of that, until it makes to one of those items that can either look really cool in your bag or makes for a really good display item, or whatever you want, but these things play.
So here we have, not sure, your pitched thread and the whipping's gone on there. This one now we're looking at is a putter, and this is actually a copy of the putter that Willie Park used during the first Open Championship in 1860. And it was unique because he put extra weight in the bottom of his club there, three pockets there. But he put the whipping around there, the head's been stained, and that's gone onto the shaft. And then this end we've got the leather grip on. We've actually put a bit of whipping so he's got a good grip, a good feel for it, and that's all been set up there. Now the grips we put on, it's not just a case of putting leather or a piece of suede onto the shaft. Because it's playable, because it's functional, we build it up with listing underneath, so you've got a taper and a proper grip to hold onto there. So you can see that.
Now what he just said, in order to make it a proper grip, you have the taper of the shaft, but in most cases what's become real popular now is your grips are parallel in some cases, but most of them have a taper. Well, now what they've done is they've put what's called an underlisting of different lengths. One might be one length, and then one might be a little bit shorter, and one might be a little shorter and shorter. So you get this taper that's on that shaft, and then they wrap it around there, and it also helps bind it, right? It binds it to that club, so you don't have it to where it would want to come apart, particularly if you just mashed a soft piece of leather right onto the back end of this thing, it would just want to turn off. And so they have that wrapped around there so it really binds, and then they finish it off with some more pitch. They nail it, and then a pitch thread at both ends to give it that, well, function. It's certainly it's functional, but certainly it also gives it a phenomenal look.
Yeah. The last thing I'll show you, Jim, is we do quite a lot for the gift market, and this is a club we do that's very popular. You see it there. This is called our heather gem. The face insert of this is taking the roots of the heather plant, which we work with another company in Scotland called Heather Gems, and they're taking the roots of the heather plant, mixing in a dye, putting it under 80 tons of pressure. It comes out in blocks, but every piece is unique, just the way the grain tends to flow. But once it's all lacquered up, it's really attractive. You can see it there. It's just a beautiful piece of equipment. On the bottom of the club, all we need is a JPEG image of your golf club, of your company, personal message, and we can do that for you and make it your personal club. So we do a lot of those items for your gift market. You can see the sight line with St Andrews across the top there.
So they come away with the functional clubs that you can go play, because if any of you guys have been paying attention, the hickory game is kind of on the rise, right? The hickory shafted clubs, so irons, woods, putters, all of that, and the gift ones. Oh, I'm sorry. The gift ones, where you see that right there, that's that pressed heather, is something that is unique, and you get something that says St Andrews on it. All right, that's something that you're not going to get.
Yeah, it's still a fully functional club. I mean, you can putt with that. That is a putter. Although it's more decorative, it's still a very playable club.
So how can you go wrong, right? So the idea is we're here in St Andrews. Wanted to show you that I'm a big history nut to begin with, as you guys well know, and to find that these guys were still doing this basically in the way that they were doing it back then, i.e. except for some power tools, but for the most part, everything, the assembly processes, everything is the way they did it in the 1800s, and they're playable and they feel good. You know, normally I thought it would be like a brick on a stick, and it's not. All right, it has a feel, it has that touch, and once you see these things like how Bobby Jones played his, and these other clubs that are coming out, it is amazing. Well, number one, it's amazing that he didn't leave divots the size of China behind him because of the knife edge on them. But it just gives you an appreciation of how good those guys were in order to shoot into the 70s, in order to win these open tournaments. It was just amazing how good these guys had to be.
The scores aren't that much different today.
Right.
Really not, yeah.
And just the feel that you get around here, it's amazing. Each club, one at a time, for you, right? For you. So if you're interested in anything in the way of this, I'm going to post the link to the website, St. Andrews Golf Company, down back in the show notes, okay? If you want, contact Hamish directly or anyone that's on his staff in order to get something that's playable, specifically if you're truly interested in this. All right. Again, guys, thank you from St. Andrews.
Thank you very much.
And let's see your scores. Go low. All right, that visit was pretty much spectacular for me. Being a club guy, I wanted to get in there and figure out how they did their whipping and how they put their grips on, because some of the marriage of the woods is actually just a pure on art form. All right, when you talk about irons, the stamping, you got the basic shape, and then you've got to know where to grind, how to cut, and then you put it all into the stamping, and then that polishing is just second to none. Okay. Well, what I ended up with is a handmade putter, the Duke. All right, that was an actual model back in the day. And if you notice, it's a lefty. All right, that's when I saw some left-handed clubs in there, I about fainted. And if you look, this is when we talked about the pitch, this is the pitch. It's a special kind of whipping that was before whipping of the 70s. The whipping in the 70s was kind of a plasticky kind of stuff. This is is basically cotton line that has the tar on it. All right. What we didn't cover in there was when they go to whip it and they go to put the grip on, is that it's kind of soft underneath there, so it has a place to grip and to hold, so it doesn't want to come undone. I actually have a roll of this stuff and know how to do that. On the other end, I've got. This is basically a suede grip because it's a putter. All right, it's a suede grip. And if you notice, there's the pitch I was talking about in the video. And then they give you a decorative cap on the top and my little stamp saying it's for me. So there it is. I got myself a left-handed wooden shafted putter. I dig the history. If you look back there, I've got a tad more that I got when I went on a different vacation. Unfortunately, only right-handed. Tad, Mike, Just, left-handed stuff, dude. All right, so hopefully you liked what you saw. There's going to be a lot of stuff in the show notes, information on St. Andrews Golf Club. Contact them if you will. When they talked about the heather gem, that's that stuff that was heather that is compressed on, I think he said 80 tons, 40 or 80 tons of pressure after it's had some, you saw almost the tie-dye, like the multicolored stuff, and it's compressed, and each piece is unique, and each piece gets put in there. Now it's a fully functional putter. It just has that decorative spot on there, and then you can have your company logo or whatever it is you want on the bottom. These guys do excellent work. I met some of the guys there. They're first rate, basically. So again, hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you liked the video. If you do, please like below, and if you like more of this, subscribe, and let's see your scores. Go low.